Hello everyone. Let me begin this TED Talk by expressing my gratitude to you all for taking the time to attend. So for that, I thank you, since I would not be here otherwise. Now, as I'm sure you all know, we are gathered here in attempts to break the cultural barriers that arise in communications between foreigners and learn how to effectively communicate interculturally. Seeing as most of you who may see this live in Florida, the melting pot state of this melting pot of a country, communications with those of different cultures occur nearly daily. If you allow me to hold your attention for the next few minutes and really take what I say to heart, you will undoubtedly become a more effective communicator with not only people of a different culture than yourself, but with all people during all interactions. So when collecting data, I proposed my thesis that respect and accommodation must be present in order to effectively communicate interculturally to my classmate by the name of Sarah Rahman. She in turn provided me with her own experience in dealing with non-English speaking tourists. See, Sarah works as a bartender in Orlando, Florida, which is one of the most tourist visited cities in the United States. She told me that the most effective way to communicate with people who do not share her language was through nonverbal cues, such as pointing to the menu, thumbs up, thumbs down. Further, she states that when someone is treated with respect, they can tell regardless of language. And I believe this to be a beautiful place to begin our discussion. Respect, respect, respect. When someone is treated with respect, it is felt and understood. They will feel validated and honored, many times more likely to treat you with the same respect and work with you in bridging the intercultural or interlingual gap. Language aside, different cultures have different customs and practices, which is something that one must always be mindful of. For example, in some countries, their culture, it is appropriate to greet by meeting another's eyes and shaking their hand, while in other cultures it may be deemed disrespectful to gaze into a superior's or elder's eyes. In a great article published in 2017 that I found on an international banking website, which sources and quotes from international speakers, titled "Intercultural Competence Begins with Respect," author Boris Austin speaks about a German businessman who greeted Taiwanese partners with gifts of German watches, only to discover that they refused to accept them and instead wanted to pay for them. Now, this is because in Taiwanese culture, being gifted a watch means one specific thing: your time is running out. However, the Taiwanese businessman did not get offended by the gifts, and the German businessman did not get offended that they did not want to accept his gifts because of a certain mutual respect and understanding. It was understood that the German was simply extending good faith, and this is what was actually received, even though the interaction did not go according to plan. Now, although you've already listened to me speak for some time now, let me toot my own horn and explain why I believe I'm qualified to teach on this topic. At the ripe age of 18 years old, I have visited 26 different countries and have spent a large portion of my life abroad. More importantly, however, there is one country that I have lived in for 3 months a year the first 8 years of my short but enriched life. This is the Southeast Asian country of Indonesia, but more specifically, the beautiful island of Bali. See, my family business is one where we vend at music festivals and import most of our product from Bali, as well as a number of other countries. In order to do this, we would live among the Balinese locals for a few months every year, playing and growing up with the local children while the adults talk business has formed relationships that will last a lifetime. And although my visits to Bali have since become shorter and farther spread apart, I am proud to call these people who live on the other side of the globe from me family. So, while the majority of the year I ate dinner with a fork and knife, I sat on a porcelain throne and flushed paper down the toilet, I ate Pop-Tarts and Cheez-Its as snacks. There was a good portion of my year that I ate coconut rice and babi guling with my bare right hand, because I would clean myself with my left after squatting over a hole in the ground. I ate pan-fried dragonflies that I caught in the rice fields myself. Now, as an audience of Americans, I know there are many, not all, but many of you whom may deem these actions as dirty or disgusting. While you may not be wrong that these actions seem odd in American culture, it is completely normal in Balinese. You would, however, be wrong if you saw these actions as inferior to your own. And this brings me to my final, but possibly most important point. Do away with your ethnocentrism. Now, both in general, but especially when communicating interculturally. In the textbook, Think Communication, which was published in 2014 and focuses on interpersonal communication, authors Engelberg and Wynn state, ethnocentric communicators offend others when they imply that they come from a superior culture with superior values. As an ethical and culturally sensitive communicator, you should examine your own ethnocentric beliefs. Now, nobody ever wants to be talked to as if thought as an inferior, and the most surefire way to ineffectively communicate with another of a different culture is to bring your own ethnocentric beliefs into the conversation with you. My time in Bali has taught me much about the differences in cultures, but interestingly enough, it has taught me much more about the similarities in cultures, the similarities in people from all over the world. In intercultural communication, you must always be mindful of the fact that we are all citizens of the world, all respectable people, all intelligent, and that nobody, not the President of the United States nor Justin Bieber, is superior to anybody else. There is one thing that I want you to all take away from this presentation. It is this. When communicating interculturally, it is the spoken word that has the least importance. Everything else, from tone, verbal cues, gestures, respect, accommodation, and adaptation, will be the determining factors of whether or not the communication is effective and constructive. Thank you, and good night.